This is an M1 Garand, named after its designer John Garand. This particular one was made May of 1941 by Springfield Armory, and when it was built cost the United States $80. In 2016 money, that's about $1,220. It was the standard rifle of United States forces from 1936 to 1959 and is largely considered the best semi-automatic rifle of World War II. It was so good that the British considered it as a potential replacement for their Lee Enfield bolt-action rifle, although they decided against that as the Garand does not function well in muddy conditions. And the Japanese even made their own version, but this was late in the war and the rifles didn't make it past trials before Imperial Japan came to an end. In a glowing review, General George S. Patton called it the greatest military tool ever devised. After the war, the United States sold surplus Garands to a number of nations, and they continued to be used into the 1970s. For those of you who don't know, being a semi-automatic rifle means that for every pull of the trigger, the rifle fires one round, and then chambers a new round, but will not fire that round until you release the trigger and pull it again. The Garand does this through what's called a long-stroke gas system. That's where the gases forcing a bullet out of the gun are siphoned out of the barrel through a tappet hole, which is here. And that forces a piston back, which drives your bolt back through this operating rod, travels past your magazine, and then is driven forward by a drive spring, picks up a new round, puts it into the breech, locks your breech, and then you're ready to fire again. The Garand also has what is called a en-bloc clip, which fits inside the gun's internal magazine and becomes part of it. When the gun uses the last of the ammunition in the clip, it automatically ejects it out of the magazine with a loud ping sound. I have an empty one loaded in here to demonstrate that for you. Anyway, this is the follower. You see that there. That forces these rounds up and also forces the old en-bloc clip out of the gun. Anyway, it uses 8 rounds of 30-06, which was the standard rifle cartridge of the United States at the time. And also uses what's called aperture, or also called peep sights, which is a small hole back here. You can see that. Whoops, tap the camera there. You can see that. And you're gonna line up this front sight post in the center of that little peep, and you're gonna line that up on your target. And that's how you use those sights. Pretty simple. It's got windage knob and your elevation knob, so you can move this around and put it directly on your target. This was seen as an advantage over older style leaf, notch and leaf sights that most rifles at the time were using, and you'll see that on some of the rifles I'll show you later. And anyway, it was, or is, about 9.5 to 10 pounds, depending on whether it's loaded and how dense the wood they used was. And, that makes it considerably heavier than most other rifles at the time. But it made up for this with fantastic accuracy, its semi-automatic operation, modern sights, its controllability, and its very light felt recoil for firing such a heavy round. and that's the M1 Garand.